Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Hugh.
And I am Josh Hallman.
And as a reminder, we are Act Two. We are a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This podcast is one of the things we do. Thank you for joining us here. Please remember to subscribe, rate, comment, all the things. And if you don't like doing any of those, just reach out and DM us with questions or topic suggestions or updates on your writing life, or if you have further questions about anything we've talked about in here, like we didn't get into the nitty gritty enough, email us that, because that's a huge question I always had or still have when I hear people speak at panels. I'm always like, get into this thing more that you didn't have time to, and we can if you just email us and let us know. You can do that at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com, all spelled out, or on our Instagram and Twitter at ActTwoWriters. I am Story Thursday on Instagram and Tasha 3.0 on Twitter.
I'm Josh Hallman on Instagram, Joshua Hallman on Twitter.
How are you today, Joshua?
I think I'm well. I think
Okay.
I'm doing all right. It's been a little crazy.
Yeah?
I was telling you I had a interesting general meeting. I got some writing done about the spec. I read over the spec that we're working on, and I have papers that no one else can see right now, but that you have written on your sketch pad.
Yeah, Sketchpad!
Printed around my desk like a madman trying to find a burglar. And the clues are laid out in front of me. And just so here's what's so amazing about working with Tasha is you write amazing notes. And I was living the good life. I took for granted how nice I had it, because I was like, you know what? Tasha has her awesome sketch pad. I'm gonna let her go. She's off and running. And I just let you do all the writing as opposed to take the notes.
Uh-huh.
I should have written some of these down myself.
I can't think unless I'm writing things down. It's like my method of absorption. And yeah, happy to share. But got my sketch pad out here, and I'm just living the good life with this sketch pad, man. It is so great.
We're going to do a full episode on you. Yeah, go.
We are going to do a full episode. Josh thinks I'm kidding. But a whole episode on a sketch pad is coming. It's imminent. The one bad thing about this sketch pad is it's so large that I can't sit on the couch and like just scribble in thoughts on my lap on the couch, because it's too... I did it, but then like I had to turn it, and so now it's like it's kind of crooked on the sketch pad, and it's only on one section because my arms are short, so I couldn't quite get to like the other side of the sketch pad.
For those who don't know, the sketch pad is Tasha's new method of note-taking, right? Brainstorming.
Yeah, brainstorming. Yeah. I think I'm hooked.
You expanded a notebook and you shrunk a whiteboard.
Tiny notebooks can't contain me, and whiteboards don't fit in my apartment that I'm at.
But it is great. The point that I'm getting at here is, so I was looking over all of our stuff, the spec stuff, and we have talked about this before. It's a murder mystery, and it's like right there. It's one of those things where we are right there, and it's the mystery, and we're trying to work backwards on certain things, and we're setting up mystery that are going to have to pay off later and all these different things. So I don't know why I'm getting into all this.
I wasn't intending to talk about this, but let's officially get into This Week in Writing.
Let's go.
This Week in Writing.
We did get notes on our murder mystery from my manager and also from one of Josh's friends.
A technician.
Their notes seem to align, which is always good. But the note from my manager, I am known, as you know, if you listen to the podcast, I don't finish a lot of spec scripts. I start a lot, I don't finish a lot. And it's often because my manager will give me notes like this that kills me and destroys me. And the note was basically like, it's great, but I have no idea what it's about. Like, what are you trying to say with this? What is my emotion supposed to be? How are the characters all connected? Because again, it's a murder mystery, so it's a bit of an ensemble cast. And she wasn't sure what commonality all of the characters had that made our mystery say something. And I'm not saying like say something like, you know, I don't know, have like this huge giant moral message on the world, but how are we supposed to feel at the end of this movie? And that was missing. And I was like, oh God, I give up. I was like, I give up.
Yeah.
And Josh was like, you do not give up. He was like, get your ass on that sketch pad and start writing notes. And we started meeting at 6 a.m. your time, 9 a.m. my time. And we just started hitting the sketch pad. And that's why it was so helpful, because I sort of like wasn't sure where to start. And so the sketch pad allowed, I'll speak for myself. I know you had your whiteboard at the same time in your office, but like it allowed me to just like write anything and take up all this space and fill out a white space until I could like figure out what the fuck we needed to talk about. Even then, like I feel like the first day we met was just, what do we do now? And like throwing ideas at like, well, how do we even solve this problem at all? And then we're like, oh, I think the problem is this. Now we can get into specifics. And thank God for sketchpads, man.
Yeah, and I can't wait until we can openly talk more about this so we can really kind of dive into the nitty-gritty. But the thing is we had these thematic elements. We had a bunch of them, but I don't think we were lasered in on one. And so there was kind of like fragments of it, which I think is common in scripts. And we basically were like, well, all of our characters kind of need to have kind of point to this one thematic element. And once we started to do that and we went through, we made sure that we like locked in on our theme. That like I think kind of opened things up. You know?
It did.
I think that's where we were like, so what is this movie about? Is this about this? Is this about this? And we're, by the way, we're not like getting political. We're not doing any of this. It's just
together. Yeah.
It's just, yeah. But the guy who gave notes, my buddy Basha, he was very complimentary. He really liked it. And
Josh didn't want to tell me the compliments.
I always forget. And even when he kind of goes into the compliments, I'm like, yeah. All right, dude, what are the problems and what's the solution?
You gotta stop doing that. Gotta hear it. Gotta soak
it
in. And also it helps you know what you can keep.
I do enjoy hearing compliments now more than I have before. I've been beaten down so much.
What about like personal compliments? Like, you look very nice today, Josh.
I'll take those at all times.
Doesn't matter. Those are good. You don't want to be like, no, but what's my hair doing?
No, because I used to not like it, but as I've gotten older, I've realized maybe one day I'm not going to get a compliment. So I'll take them while I can get them.
Taking them, you're putting them in your pocket for later.
I am little angrier as I get older. Maybe people might not want to talk to me. I don't know.
I love it's because you're getting angry. It's not okay. All right, bringing it back. There is a This Week in Writing that I'd like to talk about that I think is very cool. There is a new list out there, folks. You know, there's the blood list for horror scripts. There's the stunt list for action scripts. And now we have the women's list. It launched in 2024, so this is its second year. You can find information at womenslist.org. It's super cool because it is a list that is published to the world, just like the blood list, the stunt list. So the best scripts written by women in that year, as decided by women readers, which is also very cool. And it is any genre. You can do rom-com, you can do action adventure, you can do period piece, anything you want, submit anything. It could also be a feature and a TV pilot. They do both, got everything. And then for those who make the list, that list gets like blasted out to producers and agents and managers and all on the socials. So it's this really awesome opportunity, I think, for women out there to get your stuff read, to get it circulated, and to get your name out there. So submissions close on May 31st. There is, I think we've missed the early submission date, but there is sort of like that second tier early date, which is May 8th, and it's $55 to submit, or May 31st is the final day, and that's $70 to submit. And in the scheme of contests and lists, I do think that is kind of on the higher end, feels like for me. So Act Two would like to sponsor 2 women who, if you want to apply to this, and $70 just feels like too much for you right now, which is totally, I get that. please send us a sort of screenshot or forward us your confirmation email that you've applied to this. And for the first 2 women who do so and reach out to us, we will send you back your application fee. I'm already sponsoring 2 other women who I think are really, really great writers. They're assistants that I work with. One is an Act 2 assistant and one is my showrunner's assistant. And I know that lists and contests are something that they are always actively working on to get their stuff out there and to get feedback and to just get exposed to the reps that can take them to that next phase of their career. So it's all super important. I don't know. We talk about lists a lot on this podcast, Josh. You love them, I think. I love them. I mentioned this last episode, I believe, but I was on the Nichols Fellowship, the semifinals. I didn't even make it all the way to the top, semifinals. And I was still getting meetings from managers off of it because just that list gets thrown out into the world. And it works because there are a lot of managers and young agents who are really hungry to find new voices. And they're hungry to prove themselves at their own companies and to the world. So they are actively looking for new people that aren't already covered under their boss or their former boss or all the other people at their company. And they look to lists a lot. And guess what? Female voices are extremely important. And I'm always getting emails about, hey, does anyone have a female writer who writes in this particular genre? So it's a really important list. Really happy about it. womenslist.org. You can also find it through Coverfly. That's how you actually apply. But womenslist.org has all the other information.
I love it.
Me too.
That's great.
Okay. I, as part of my job this week, have been writing a character section for a Bible, which means a bunch of different characters. And it's been really interesting because when you're just creating character, let's just say as an exercise, take any kind of franchise that you love. For you, Josh, maybe it's Mission Impossible. For me, it's probably Harry Potter. And then just do a list of, let's say, 10 to 15 characters. And maybe 4 are main, and the rest can be secondary. It's really fucking fun. And I think what's cool about it is that stories start to form as you're writing these character descriptions that never would have existed had you not thought about this character, tried to understand, well, why does this character think and feel the way I'm describing them? Did something traumatic happen in their past? Maybe something awesome happened in their past. Well, that's interesting too. And suddenly I've come away from just character descriptions that had no story on their own with story ideas for all of them. And that is so freaking cool. And I think is potentially just a fun exercise to do if you're like, what is my next thing? What is the next thing I have? And what kind of character do I create from that? Maybe pick a world that you want to play in and then just start writing characters that could fit into that space and just focus on the character. Don't focus on their role in the Mission Impossible universe. Just be like, who would be fucking fun? You know what would be fun and that we don't have in Mission Impossible that we have in James Bond is a Q character. Who supplies their shit? Who's that person? That's pretty fun. Who gives them their missions? What's that system like? Just start creating fun characters and I bet it'll go somewhere. That's all.
I love that. Something that I think is always just also so helpful in trying to really break down characters is finding a character that you love from something else. It's kind of obvious, but sometimes I don't do that. I don't do this enough and being like, oh, this is that character this is Q, or this is Benji from Mission Impossible. And that's who my character is. And they just really mirroring that character and then having the same characteristics and kind of tweaking it to make it your own. But for me, when I'm doing breakdowns like that, that is really helpful.
It can be helpful when you're creating a story to be the role of Benji is this in Mission Impossible. He is the tech guy. He's kind of the one who conveys to the audience what the plan is and why the plan is insane and going to be difficult. And that is a very key sort of trope and role that a character must play in a movie like that. So it's not copycatting to say I need a Benji. You need a guy like Benji. I've definitely pitched things where I'm he's the guy in the chair. You know,
Yeah.
the person who talks to Spider-Man in his ear when he goes out into New York City. It's just, yeah, it's so helpful to think in those like tropey kind of ways.
Spider-Man has someone in his ear?
In the new ones, in the Tom Holland ones. He
Really?
even calls him the man in the chair.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
All right, my last this week in writing is, I don't even know if there's a point to the story, but I got notes this week on a project that I'm working on. I turned in a treatment for something, and basically the note was, we don't like any of your second act. And they're right. But I just want to say I had so much anxiety going into this meeting. I was dreading it for days. And I knew what their notes were already, and I'd been thinking about it for a while, and I was coming up with ideas, but there was just this overwhelming dread coming up to the meeting. And I think it's because what's so stressful about some notes meetings is the notes meetings where it's not just like, I'm going to give you notes, go on with your life, take these notes and do what you will, writer. The note meeting that are like, let's brainstorm in the meeting how to solve this thing. That's when I get really anxious because I have performance anxiety, I think. Like, I'm so afraid of getting a question and being like, so Tasha, how do you think we solve this? And then just emptiness is in my brain. Just nothing. I guess I'm afraid of being seen as stupid, I guess.
No, I think that's a very common thing.
Ugh, God, Josh is so bad. My anxiety was real bad. The meeting turned out great. The notes were brilliant and will definitely make this project better. And the conversations were really good. And we got to the heart of everything. And I guess it's hard because in notes meetings, as a writer, you feel like you're being attacked because everyone has such an interesting, or not interesting, they have a different perspective because you put your heart and soul into something, you sent them a PDF of that thing, and it's just a PDF to them. There's like, they don't see all the sweat and the tears that are in there and all the many decisions you made in order to make that one decision and all the things you deleted because you tried it and it didn't work. They don't see that. They just see like, oh, this is a stupid way of doing this. Like, why'd you introduce this character this way? And that's the hard part, is because you know they're going to see those things because they're there. But you just haven't gotten to that draft yet. You haven't gotten to that pass, you know?
Yeah, I still never get over when people just real casually say that, oh, you know, you can fix this or whatever. You know, when someone says to you that you can get in there and like tweak the second act, and they're like, just go do it, and you're like, no, and because that PDF is your soul and your blood, sweat, and tears. And again, they're looking at it and they think that you are a genius and that you can just do it, and you're a magician who can just like snap your fingers and get it done. And it just always kills me. Can I say something real quickly? That is, sometimes when I'm either pitching something or explaining a story to somebody, you might know this about me, I get excited. I get a little animated. And so my level kind of goes up to like a 9, and I'm just off and running. And then when it's done, it's like coming back down. But when I start getting those kind of questions, I always felt like I had to match the energy that I came in with like a pitch, even though I don't have some of the answers. And I remember that always threw me off because I was like, I'd be like, oh, well, yeah, no. And then like I'm just stumbling through whatever the hell I'm trying to say. And that's just what you were saying just made me think about that, of like kind of feeling like you're being attacked. Also what we were talking about, just like pitching and all those different things.
Yeah, something I was telling Josh is that I'm in a room right now with a writer who is very experienced, and the way he talks about story is very interesting. It's very different than the way I do. I have the energy that I have right now as I'm talking to you and what Josh is talking about. Like when I talk about story, I'm a little bit tense, a little bit high energy, and I also over prepare. I almost always, like in a notes meeting, because I already know what their notes are going to be ahead of time, I have written so many pages of ideas that could happen, of different ways that this could go, of even like how I'm going to explain to them what I've thought about. I've written down how to say that because I am so afraid that I will get so nervous that I will stumble my way through, like Josh is saying. But this other writer that I've been working with, he's so calm. He's just so like, stories haven't have a beginning and a middle and an end. And through it, our characters arc in a way that is surprising and there's twists. But really by the end, it's just rewarding. And you go home feeling, rewarded by the, like, he's able to talk about story in this kind of like step back 50,000 foot view of just why we love movies and story in a way that I find very desirable. Like, I want to be able to talk in that, not in that like slow way, but like in that very commanding, confident, this is how stories are told, everybody. And I absolutely know how to handle this story that you have given me, because I am a storyteller who knows these things. And so I tried it in this meeting. I did all my notes, my over preparation, but I didn't look at them. I just talked. And you know what? It was very freeing. I really enjoyed it. And when I needed to, I could go back to all my many notes, but I feel like it became more of a conversation, and I feel like I felt more or less pressure to say all these particular things because I wasn't going off of my document where I had to say all these things. I don't know. It freed me up a bit. So I'm going to work on this skill. It may seem obvious to people, but for me, it's not obvious.
It's easy to get fired up in some of these meetings.
And nervous and yeah.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
We got a main topic here, which is writing for an audience. We're going to talk about what it means. We're going to talk about why it's important. And no, doing it does not make you sell out. Josh, tell us how this topic came about.
I was having a conversation with a friend that I'm working on a project with. And naturally, I was talking about character. I was basically giving a very in-depth over-explanation of a character's psyche, a character's motivation, where they're coming from, all the different things, the way I viewed it. And the guy was like, that's great, but there's something TC always says. He always thinks about the audience and how can we relate to the audience. I paused him and I said, are we talking about the TC I think you're talking about? It's Tom Cruise.
He said TC?
That's how you know your friends.
At least it wasn't the TC.
TC.
He's an actor who works with Tom Cruise. I guess that's also part of the story.
So they know each other. They're friends. And he brought up, this is not some secret. This isn't like anything, but it reinforces. I mean, Tom Cruise is probably arguably someone who saved cinema during COVID and beyond. And his mindset really is, what can I do for the audience? How can I present a story with characters and motivations, but how can I serve the audience who is coming to a movie theater to see me perform? So that's how this topic and this conversation came to be, because I do think as writers, we can sometimes get a little granular about someone's motivations and emotional state. And you're like, well, if you didn't notice this nuanced thing that a character did in the second scene on page 30, and then it's like one of those things where it's like, no, let's take a few steps back. Like what you were talking about, the bigger picture, the 50,000 foot view of like film and talking about stories. How is this serving the audience, or what will the audience want to see here? And kind of thinking in a way of someone viewing what you are writing rather than being the writer who is writing.
That is our job after all. We do forget. I forget all the time that the experience of a movie is important. It's What do you want the person in the seat, whether it's in a theater or on their couch or on their phone, what do you want their experience to be of what you're presenting them? And you can't be like, I don't fucking care what their experience is. I'm going to show them what the fuck I want to show them. I mean, you can. There have been filmmakers who have done that. But is that like the minority of filmmakers out there? Yes. Do most of us want to put movies together for, some kind of enjoyment or to share a message with someone? We want to share a story with people. That is the whole point of writing these things, right? So I am a huge proponent of writing for an audience now. I didn't used to be. I very much was like, fuck the audience. They'll like what I tell them to like. And I want to stick with what's in my brain and what I'm feeling as I write this whole thing. And that's for someone else to figure out, right? Like that's the director's job to whatever, to like adapt this thing that I have given them. And now that I've worked on Tomb Raider and I've worked on Mighty Nine, and I've actually had to talk with directors, talk with people who are deciding lighting, actors, every single step of the way is about this question of how do you want the audience to feel in this moment? And here's where I realized that to the degree that really changed the way I think about writing is when a director challenged me, not in a bad way, but it was like confused by my meaning in a certain scene. And I realized the only way for me to explain to her what the scene was about was for me to explain how I wanted the audience to feel. And I realized that is something I'm writing to without maybe realizing it. Like, for instance, you want an audience to feel sad in this scene because your character is sad. Or maybe even walk that back. My character is sad and therefore I want the audience to feel sad. That's still a feeling. And therefore, when you go into that scene and you go to write that scene, or you're further down the line in production and you're going to produce this scene, what about this scene is going to make the audience feel sad? Is it going to be the lighting? Probably. Is it going to be the way the character is dressed and the way that they act and the way that they say the lines that you've given them? Yeah, probably. It could be just the way they say the line, or you may need to change the line, because guess what? You get there on set and you realize this line's not making people sad. The way that it's coming out, the way that a human needs to say this line, it's not doing the job of making this scene feel sad. When I watch it, I have to change that line. So it came to me when I had to justify why I did something. And there's been plenty of times during this process and production where I've had to change a scene because I realized the director's right. It's not, she's confused by what she needs to convey because I haven't conveyed it properly, what the experience of the audience needs to be in this section. And then that applies to, by the way, every single part of my job, along from production, writing, all the way until post-production, figuring out color, sound effects, all of that. Because when I get to sound effects or I get to music, I'm thinking, well, what does the audience need to feel, not just in this scene, but on this exact shot? They need to be surprised. That means the music needs to be surprising. That means the sound effects need to support surprise. And so you need to know in your soul what every scene and moment means in your story so that you can help people create your story in the best way possible. And it goes back all the way to thinking about how you want the audience to feel in their experience of watching your movie. I'm very passionate about this, apparently.
No, I love it. It's really weird because I feel like I've always felt like I've wanted to write for an audience, but it took a while to kind of figure out everything you just said. Like, how do you actually take your mind out of what you're writing and be like, what does the audience want right now? Like, what can I do here to serve the audience, and can it still be within the realm of motivation for the character, right? So
yeah,
it's hard to think about. It really is. It's hard to get your mind in that state, I think.
Yeah, I think the audience pass is almost like a pass, like we talk about a character pass or a pacing pass or whatever. It feels like the audience pass is a pass. It's not. It may be something. When we write, we're writing with all of the tools we have in our tool chest. We're writing with our character hat on and our producer hat on and a little bit of our director hat on because we're trying to understand what the scene looks like and what shots are what. But an audience is hopefully innately in you, like Josh is talking about. Like when I write an action scene, I don't think, God, I hope this is boring. I think this is going to be exciting. And the reason I feel that way is because that's what I want the audience to feel. So It's inherently in what we're doing already. But I think there's a version where when you write your script, you then go back through, throw off all the other hats, throw off all the writer hats you can find, and even throw off the producer hat. Think about the audience in this first scene. What are they gonna think and feel when they come into this? Am I conveying the right thing to get them to feel what I want them to feel? Maybe not. Maybe I need to adjust. And that fucking happened, by the way, in the pilot of Tomb Raider. We had a completely different opening episode. At least like the first section of the pilot was very different when we even made it. We animated it and everything, and we got to it. And the experience of the very first episode of this show was sad and a little confusing because I was trying to put a lot of backstory in a little bit of space so that we could get over the backstory already and get into the story. And so it started actually with Lara being sad. It was actiony. I don't know if you remember this because we talked about it. It was like a Mission Impossible kind of opener where she's upside down and she's climbing up a mountain in this like cool alpine area, and it's super dangerous, and she's taking risks that she shouldn't. Why is she taking risks that she shouldn't? What's going on in her head for that? And she gets to the top of this mountain, and we realize there were flashbacks in the original script that she climbed up here with her dad when she was younger, and also with her mentor, Conrad Roth, who later dies. And it was her remembering this moment. And then she's actually told, in the very, very original script, she's told by her friend, because she has, the little, I don't know, Bluetooth in her ear, her friend saying, "You're late for a party with your friends. You remember your friends, don't you? Get down here fast because like you're supposed to be bringing them ice." And so she's like, the only way to get down there fast is to base jump. And it's like, so it's like this cool action scene, but really it was like the experience the audience was having was sadness. Because she was sad as she climbed to the top of that mountain. And it just felt wrong. And there was nothing we could do to make it feel more exciting. So I had to rewrite the whole opener to not only fix the confusion problem, because suddenly we were meeting a dad, we were meeting a Conrad Roth, and we're also meeting Lara for the first time. So who the fuck are all three of these people and why do I care? So I had to step that out a bit more. But also I had to create a more exciting opener because that's the feeling of the show. Like the show is an action adventure. I guess the point is that the audience's point of view is so key that you have to be like, hopefully you think of it before you get to production and have like fucked up the beginning of your pilot. But that is an example where thinking about the audience is really, really important.
All right. So how do you think about the audience?
I do that, really. I think I go through scenes and I reread it and I'm like, well, this chunk of dialogue is too confusing. We've been living with these characters for a really long time. They are like family to us, but an audience is coming to this 2-hour movie or a show, but still the pilot of a show, not having any clue who these people are. And so big chunks of dialogue, especially early on from people we don't know, we start to lose focus. And even chunks of dialogue after we know a character really well can sometimes feel like a slog, and it can feel like it slows a scene down, or hey, this scene is actually a spy scene. This has happened to me before. I wrote a scene that's two spies talking to each other, but they kind of had to give a lot of backstory or like talk about a lot of politics in order to understand what the mission they were about to go on was so important. So this scene, as I looked back I'm doing my audience pass now. When I look at it, I think, ugh, like this is a lot of politics. To expect an audience to be excited about the mission, but also to like digest all this politics, they're not going to be able to do those two things. So what do I do? What's more important? Is it more important that the audience understands the politics, or is it more important that the audience is excited about the mission of this episode? And the answer is the latter, because when we pitch back a show to someone because we're excited about it, we don't go, and then this warring organization was like going against this warring organization, and then this guy like stabbed him in the back, and then we talk about like how fucking cool that spy sequence was and how it made us feel. So then I go back through that spy sequence and all of that dialogue, and I think, okay, what's actually important for the scene to work, for it to literally function so that it does not fall apart?
Yeah.
And then maybe add a detail or two more. So as long as it's not confusing, great. I've hit the politics mark, right? But the more important piece is that I'm fucking pumped to get to that mission scene.
Yeah.
And that's where the experience of the audience comes in terms of writing and doing the audience pass.
Yeah, it's interesting because I almost feel like there's the simplicity pass with like dialogue where it's, I don't want to say dumbing down, but it is sometimes simplifying politics or simplifying a plan, or because like in a spy movie, right? You're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is like the MacGuffin we're going to be chasing. These are the stakes. And sometimes you have to lay in all this stuff and it gets very confusing and it's a lot. So you kind of think to yourself, okay, how can I simplify this so people can track it? There's that. And then there's looking at scenes, which I've done before, I will admit. And I'll just be like, how can this just be cooler? Like, what can I do in this scene to make this better and make you feel happy and make you feel like this is the coolest shit ever?
A cool pass is totally valid, for sure.
Yeah. I kind of loop that into an audience pass, for me at least, because that's just me being like, what's like the coolest thing I would want to see right now? And does that work? No, it doesn't work. Okay, what's the second coolest thing I could see right now? So the audience pass is so important. Just to track a story, and then you have to make sure you still care about all the characters and there's still all the nuance, but it's all there. It's just a little bit more on the nose.
I was going to say yes and no, because it's also, you have to trick the audience in some ways into feeling something, right? So like, it's not always, I have to be more self-explanatory. So that, I guess, is as part of my point about it not being don't think of it as selling out when we talk about thinking about the experience of the audience, because again, you're trying to, it's really, what is the feeling of your movie? That's what we're talking about. Take the audience piece out of it if you want to, like the marketing piece. Well, that's not really what we're talking about. It's like, what is the feeling going on here? Another example is that there's a character in something I'm writing who, she's supposed to be extremely scary. Like, just, we always call her like the Terminator. Like, she needs to be so fucking scary every time she's on screen. And there were scenes that weren't working because she didn't seem scary. So the experience that I want the audience to have is to be like, every time they see this character, they think, holy fuck, the hero is dead. Like, what are they going to fucking do? Because now this Terminator has come onto the scene.
Right.
And there were scenes where that wasn't happening. So now that I know that that's how I want the audience to feel, which again is not a selling out thing. It's a this scene needs to be better thing, right?
Yeah.
So now that I know that the purpose of this scene is to make the audience feel scared of this character, how do I rewrite it so that they feel scared?
Yeah.
And that's how you do your audience pass. It's so fun, to be honest.
It is.
Like, it's really cool to think about the experience of your movie, because I think it takes it out of this sort of, I don't know, just words on a white page. And it becomes this like living, breathing, experiential thing. And when someone reads it, like a producer or a studio executive, they're also going to feel that. They're basically your audience that you're doing this pass for.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And this also, I think, holds whenever you've gotten a note, and you've all gotten this note because we get it all the time, when someone says, I didn't understand this. And you're like, well, but it's obviously there. It was on page 30 and it's on page 50. Like, how much more do you need me to tell you? They are the audience, and in the experience of them reading, and this will be repeated in the experience of them watching it, they didn't feel it, which means you did your job wrong somewhere. And it might not be. It's probably not what they think it is, but you didn't get them. So audience pass that shit. We need to do an audience pass once we finish our murder mystery rewrite.
I was thinking about that. There's some cool stuff in there.
There's cool stuff for sure.
Yeah, we're in real time doing an audience pass. You said everything so perfectly. I got nothing else.
It's so good. It's so fun.
Yeah.
I also want to mention pacing. I know editing is sort of down the line, but when you think about writing, pacing is something you are in control of in terms of how you're intercutting, or just like the pacing of the dialogue in the scene and how people are moving in a scene. So pacing can be also key in conveying how you want an audience to feel in a particular section. I think Ocean's 11 is a fantastic example. That pace is up. We're cutting, we're intercutting, we're doing all this stuff. Quippy line, cut, quippy line over here. And that's because the experience of the movie is meant to have that just ball is rolling in a really fun way. Also, another thing to think about is if you're going to have a super sad scene and then go to another really sad scene, that's fine. Just make sure you're doing that intentionally, right? Because the audience's experience is going to be, oh my God, that's so awful. Oh, I'm so sad that thing happened. And now this other sad thing is happening over here.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And again, that's fine. If that's what you want your audience to feel, just know you're doing it intentionally. You may instead want to have a sad scene, let your audience live there, and then like give it a little happy B story thing.
Yeah.
If you're going to cut your B story anyways, maybe now is the time. So that's also a way to think about your audience pass is feel your way through your script as you're rereading it. and being like, ooh, yeah, I probably don't want 2 sad scenes in a row here.
That's actually a very good point. I agree. Because you don't want to make people too freaking depressed.
I mean, I don't. Not in the stuff we write.
Hey, that was a great script. I'm going to go sleep now for the entire weekend. And
It's funny, though. Actually, I have more of a tendency to do this than some other people that I've worked with, because I'm like, no deep feelings and trauma. Like, they're upset by the thing that happened to them when they're 2, and people are like, whoa. I've had people say, like, can we give a little levity in here? So while I do write big, like, action adventure fun stuff, I do feel like I can sometimes get too caught up in my feelings.
yeah,
So please catch me.
Yeah.
Catch me next time I do that.
I will. Tasha's feelings.
Not valid. All right. So that's our topic, writing for an audience. If you guys have particular questions or something's come up in your own writing, or this doesn't make any sense to you, please reach out to us at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com. But I'll take us into our quote of the day.
Do it.
Let the audience put 2 and 2 together so that it comes up with 4. Let them do that themselves, and they'll love you forever. Vince Gilligan.
Boom.
Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha at Story Thursday on Instagram, or on Twitter and Blue Sky, Tasha 3.0.
I'm Joshua Hallman on Twitter, Josh Hallman on Instagram.
And as always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist.